Okay, so moving forward, um, with Sarah Boone, I'm not quite sure the time period that she had between the cops coming. I don't quite remember if I don't believe, or she might have gone into the police station, left, came back the next day under the guise that she needed to pick up her laptop or her stuff or whatever. Um, so she may have gotten a little bit of relief. She probably drank again because that's what alcoholics do. Good time, bad time. What the fuck? I think I killed my boyfriend time. You want to drink because that's what we do. Okay. Which if you're not an alcoholic, that would be the last thing that you would want to do. Um, but that's just not how the alcoholic brain works. Especially, it's a two-part situation. It's physical, and I don't want to say nature nurture. It's it's the physical compulsion with the mental um, obsession with alcohol. And, you might relate to it with coffee. If you're somebody that, seriously loves your coffee and you decide to give it up, well, there's that thing where every morning you get up and you have your routine and you go make your coffee and, you put it down. So there's that physical craving of the caffeine, but then it's like rearranging what you do every day so that, and you can, and people that think it's no big deal, go ahead and try it because anyway. So there's that phenomenon going on. And when you're somebody who drank the way that they drank, the way that she drank, it's not just your everyday physical necessity. It's take that and, times 100, okay, where her body needed alcohol. I wouldn't say she wasn't even probably close to late stage alcoholism, but I mean, because she's young. Not that alcoholics haven't had, late stage alcoholism at that age, but I don't know, just from what I see, I mean, they were able, they weren't on the streets. They were still relatively functional in their completely dysfunctional life. So, um, but anyway, so when you're somebody when alcohol is just part of everything you do every day, part of, you wake up and then you got to figure out, got to go get more. And then if you got the kid, you're probably thinking, okay, I should probably stop drinking. If I got to pick the kid up at 3, I should probably, it's this whole thing. And I don't think people that aren't alcoholics or don't drink like that would understand it, but I do. And so there's that. And then again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but there's that physical need for alcohol. Your body is dependent on that alcohol more than anything else. Physiologically, your body is going to start tweaking without that alcohol. And which is, the sugar content in alcohol is huge. So that's why most often when people give up alcohol, they start, overeating with sugar and things of that nature. But anyway, so she's in the interrogation room. And on top of the fact that she's trying to wrap her brain around the fact that George is dead, she's going through these physical withdrawals. And she's in an environment where she has absolutely no control. And that's when you start to see the true Sarah Boone. Belligerent, defiant, immature to the max. I mean, it was like watching them have a conversation with a 15-year-old. No, no, I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. How they maintain their composure, I'll never know. And, the detectives got a lot of shit from the way that they treated her. And I'm thinking, compared to what? I don't know how many interrogations y'all have watched, but I've seen interrogations where, you know, I mean, people are blatantly aggressive with suspects. They were clearly passive aggressive, and I mean, I'm assuming it's hard to maintain any resemblance of composure when you have somebody that's that obnoxious. Um, yeah, I think it's a talent to be able to sit there in the face of somebody that the situation, and then watch them, try to completely spin it in a completely different direction. So that was the beginning of seeing who this person is. And as we all saw, if you watched the trial, it then went from the detectives into each and every lawyer that she tried to obtain. And it's the same thing. She was just, she was like, someone who's drowning, grasping for, that's why when someone's drowning, you don't jump in to save them, because they're going to jump on top of you and they're going to swamp you and you're going to go down with them. So, and, for public defenders, I mean, I don't know how the scenario went through every time, but they were probably like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. There's always going to be another person needing a public defender. And she just probably made it way too easy to to move on down the road, so to speak. But, you know, when you give up drinking after the amount of time that she had spent in her life abusing alcohol, in the best case scenario, if you go to rehab and then you're introduced to recovery and you start going to meetings and you start working any type of recovery program, that alone takes an immense amount of completely redoing the way that you've lived your life up until that point. And very, very few people, I mean, the statistics aren't good, number one, of people getting sober and staying sober. But very few people go into recovery, grab onto the concepts, the 12 steps of AA, and then move on with their life. Most people, because it's such a foreign concept, number one, to live life without alcohol, but then to learn to rebuild a completely different life without alcohol. And it takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of humility. And, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous is set up to do that. And it's actually a pretty simple program. And from my observation of what I saw, it didn't appear that, I don't think I even heard one reference of either one of those two having done any stints in rehab or any type of recovery like that. Oftentimes when you're watching these shows, people are like, well, I had sobriety, or, they had to be sober for a certain period of time because they were incarcerated, or, whatever the case may be. But I didn't see any of that with either two of these people. So, and I understand that. I remember the first time I went to, someone said they were going to a meeting. They were like, yeah, you should go. I was like, well, Well, of course, it was a guy that I was trying to land, and I was like, "Oh, I like meetings. I'll go to a meeting." And I showed up, all dressed for a meeting, having absolutely no idea what I was walking into, not even one smidge of an iota of what an AA meeting was. Um, and he didn't tell me that it had anything to do with not drinking. I don't even remember what the hell he said he was doing, but anyway, little Black Eagle shows up only for one reason, to see this guy. And I walk in, and it was my first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll never forget it, because even though I walked through those doors with absolutely no idea what I was walking into, and I was dressed. I wasn't dressed to the nines or anything, but I had a nice polo shirt on, and I don't know, probably a pair of khakis and some loafers or something like that. I didn't look like a homeless person or anything. But anyway, what I distinctly remember and will never forget is, and he wasn't there, by the way. That's the other ironic thing. But people started talking. The way an AA meeting runs is somebody tells their story, and then alcoholics share what they're going through, yada, yada, whatever. And I started crying. I started crying because people are talking about their drinking. And yeah, I'd never heard anything like it before. And they were talking, it felt like they were all talking to me. And, I also, I haven't really talked about much of my own, what we call drunkalogue, my own alcohol history. But, my family owned a golf course and this big bar on the beach, and it was the place to be, and everybody I knew. Alcohol was just part of my life for a really long time. And in all those years, and I was a bartender for my summer jobs, and I had never had, I understood, my idea of alcoholics were that they were men on a bench in a trench coat. The people that came into my bar and drank too much, and then we partied all night into the next day and yada yada on the beach. And, they weren't alcoholics. They were my customers and my friends. And this, I could tell you stories that, a lot of them were pretty funny. And some of the situations that I got myself into were pretty funny. But there were a lot that were not very funny at all. And so anyway, yeah. So I show up to this meeting, and that was my introduction to recovery and the beginning of my journey of coming to terms with the fact that I was an alcoholic. So, to wrap it up at this point, I'm coming back because I got a lot to say about this this whole Sarah Boone situation. Yeah, watching this trial, one of the things they teach you in Alcoholics Anonymous is to identify and not compare. And it's hard not to be judgmental. There's that. No, he did not deserve to die. Duh. Absolutely no reason that man should not be alive today. And the only reason that he's not alive today is because she's an alcoholic. She blacked out and he died because of it. So it doesn't matter what he'd ever done or how much he drank or didn't drink. She's 100% solely responsible for the fact that that man is no longer walking the earth. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate everybody listening. Whoever does, I know there's not that many. I always feel whoever does, it's for a reason. And yeah, I'll be back.